What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ant with the next episode of Randomz, and I'm here with
absolutely perfect Shawn Jenkins.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And what do you do?
Well, I'm a professional wrestler, martial artist. I also develop automobile parts and things like when you go to AutoZone or Pep Boys or somewhere like that. I'm one of the guys that help make that happen, so you can go in and buy your part.
Wow.
So,
wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so what does that entail? Like, how do you make these parts? And is it like something individualized to specific cars?
Yeah, well, I did about 10 years at Standard Motor Products in New York. Then which is a company that makes your engine management stuff, like your relays, your sensors and stuff. And I worked in almost every position in that company except accounting and HR. But they had I was in charge of shipping at one point. I was in charge of purchasing and product management. I was in engineering department. And in the engineering was, I think, my last position, but that was the best one because down there we create the relays and sensors, all those things. When you get in your car, you have an oxygen sensor, an oil pressure sensor. Well, I'm the guy that has to work on it, test it, if it says that it's going to last 3 years, I got to do a test to simulate 3 years so that you guys, that's how we come up with the number of, it's going to last 3 years, 10,000 miles or whatever the word is. We run a test, and when it fails, that's where we put the number so that you guys, the customer, get the product. So they don't just put a number on a box, you really do the test. And I was the guy in the lab coat with my meter and my pen and all that, making all that happen so that when you got whatever it is was for your car, that was there. But now at CRP Industries in Dayton, New Jersey, I now am in charge of like the coolant hose line for European vehicles, your Audi, your Volkswagen, your Mercedes, the BMW, all the cars that a lot of people really don't want to touch because when something breaks on a Mercedes, it's often a major cost to fix it. Right. So we're trying to give you guys the water pumps and coolant hoses and expansion tanks, stuff like that, at a price that you can still keep riding your Mercedes. So you can get those parts from AutoZone, but a lot of those places are mostly like WorldPac and SSF. Those are like the big carriers of our product, and they distribute to all the local spots that sell in Europe, wherever you are in the world, and in the USA. That's what they do. But I manufacture all that. I work with our manufacturers, and we get the original part that was made by Mercedes, and we get the part that we help manufacture. I compare it, I measure it, I test it, I see if the fittings are right. I do it. We even have sometimes we have like engine blocks or things in-house that we can attach the hose to make sure it fits just like the OE does. Then once we see it all fits or whatever, then we say, okay, we can release it to the market.
So you guys are actually doing the fabricating there at this.
Well, no, we get it set up to be fabricated because we have it done. One of our places is in Turkey, and they are the ones that are working with us because they have the facility to make massive amounts of that part. Again, it's not something that if we were to try and do it in-house, the space it would take up would be another building or something. So it's easier to do it offshore. But we have, from conception to out the door, we have hands on it, so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that sounds like a lot of brain work there, man. Like a lot of engineering and like putting stuff together and dealing with the numbers and figuring stuff out. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, let me ask you about the wrestling situation. Absolutely perfect, Shawn Jenkins. So, how'd that name come about, first of all? Like, what brought that name about?
Well, I'm a product of the old school wrestling world, from the late 80s and early 90s or whatever. I was a big fan of, Macho Man Randy Savage, the original years of The Undertaker, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and those were, and Jake Roberts and Rick Rude. And so my wrestling ability and character is more like a mixture of Jake Roberts, Rick Rude, Bret Hart, and Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. So I kind of took all their stuff and started developing my wrestling style. Well, back in about 1991, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. And yeah, I was in Brooklyn. I wasn't there. I was coming back and forth. I was in Brooklyn, and they had a local spot in the area, and the guys would wrestle. And like James, Richard, Hanif. I'm just thinking about these names of these guys. But we all would just had like our own little wrestling thing in Brooklyn, and I just was walking around calling myself Mr. Perfect. That was just, and it kind of stuck because everything I saw him do, I could do it. I was like, and I just liked the name, I liked the angle, and I was like, I can do this, I can do that. And I was like,
wait a second. Now, Mr. Perfect is famous for that Bishamon suplex. Are you able to complete the Bishamon suplex with the full bridge and everything?
Well, and I don't want to correct you on camera, the cradle suplex with the bridge, which is called the fisherman suplex.
That's what it's called.
Yes, I do. That is actually my finishing maneuver in wrestling or whatever. You know, I'll let you guys see that somewhere. But yeah, so I mean, I started enjoying that hold. I enjoyed submission. I also did a lot of shoot wrestling at what, like 12 or so. I started at like 12, and there was a guy named Mr. Mack. And he used to have he had a gym where he had guys that he used to train boxers, and they stopped boxing somewhere, and so he still had a ring around. So he would just let me come by and play in the ring, and our friends would want to come by. So he said, "You guys gonna play in the ring? I'm gonna show you guys how to work in here." And so he started showing us how to shoot wrestle, which is full contact submission wrestling. It's like the grandfather to UFC. Like UFC is like the cage and all that, but shoot wrestling's been around for the longest time, and it's that submission hold.
You mean like pancrase? Like, I think I've seen a few videos from New Japan, like in the mid 90s.
You may see some of that stuff there. They may have had it there as well, but mostly it was done in. You've seen a lot of it in Canada back in, especially in there, because Bret Hart's father was known for that type of stuff. So Stu Hart, you know, and but what had happened is, yeah, so Mr. Mack had just showed us how to wrestle and how to get into those types of holes and how to get out of holes and stuff like that. But I never did entertainment wrestling until 1999, and but I had that name Perfect had started back then, and I kind of just ran with it for a while, and then Absolutely Perfect Shawn Jenkins was a guy. Bobby Lombardi was the owner of the Long Island Wrestling Federation on Jamaica Avenue, across from Franklin K. Lane High School. They had a place called the Dog House where you would go train as a wrestler. And well, we're getting into how I got into wrestling now, but okay. I guess I'll keep going.
Yeah, let's go. So, let's find out.
What happened was in 1999, I had went to it had an outside show. The side of the warehouse gate was up, and they had people looking in from the side. So I was thinking about getting into wrestling, but I never really wanted to do it, and I just kind of wanted to see what it was like. So I was talking to Bobby Lombardi, and he goes, we were talking about I said, what would I have to do to be on, get a wrestling and start it with all that? And he's like, well, you got to train and so forth. And then he goes, you have a ring name? And I said, well, I'm just known, Perfect. And he goes, no, you have to change that. He says, make it something like your own. He says, like purely perfect, and then your name or something like that. And I was like, and so I was sitting around the house and, I'm thinking about it, and I just couldn't come up with nothing. So then one day I went to go just do some regular exercise at that place. So they had the weights and stuff you could exercise with. So I was there one night, and a guy named Doug Wynn from Massapequa, Long Island, and thank you, Doug. So I was working out, and he walks up to me, a little short Irish fella, and he walks up to me and he says, he goes, hey, I was watching you work out. Would you ever be interested in wrestling? And I said, no, I don't want to do any more wrestling. I'm thinking about shoot wrestling at the time. So I was like, no, I'm fine with that, whatever. He goes, no, I mean entertainment wrestling, like WWF. And I was like, he goes, where do you live at? And I said, I live in Whitestone. He goes, I got to go past that way to go home. He says, can I take you home? And I was like, in my mind, I was like, this dude, want to take me home. I'm like,
That's weird.
But I was like, this is like I said, and I thought to myself, I said, I could take this dude if he tried. So he goes, if I can't convince you to wrestle, and the time it takes to drive you home, then we can forget it. So I said, all right. So I was gonna take the train anyway. So I'm like, it's a free ride. So I take the ride, and we're riding in the car, and he starts explaining about how he wants to do this and that with UHW, Universal Hardcore Wrestling was the name of his fed he had. And he had some guys, and he just wanted a guy that could train them, and he wanted a guy that he wanted to use me in one of his main stories.
Can I cut in for 1 second? Now, the UHW, right? Now, it sounds like it's a hardcore wrestling federation. Is there a lot of blood and guts there?
No, actually, it wasn't a lot of blood and guts. It was actually, Universal Hardcore Wrestling. That's what Doug had came up with the name for it. And what had happened is that we had very little hardcore matches. It was all basically wrestling matches, but it was like a federation that was just trying to get off the ground. They had eager guys that wanted to wrestle. They just wanted to try, and that's what got me, because I'm like, well, if I go in here, again, I was interested in trying to wrestle and seeing whatever, and he goes, but he wants me to train. So my thinking is that I've done shoot wrestling, and I've done martial arts, so I know how to hold, I know how to do these things. I just need to learn the psychology part. So I took a crash course on VCR tapes, and because he says he wanted me to train his wrestlers. So now his wrestlers are coming in thinking, I know all this stuff about wrestling. So I'm like, well, there was a guy named Dr. Adam Tonis who told me, if you dress a particular way and you walk in a building, if you look like you belong there, nobody will say anything.
Absolutely.
So guess what? I started training, watching tapes, and like, okay, that's why they did this, that's why they did that. I learned about falling and all that before. And boom, about 2 weeks later, we started having practice, and I'm training these guys, and I may have learned it 3 days before they learned it, and wow. I'm transitioning it in and whatever, and that's how I guess the best way you can become good at wrestling is, or in a position, is to actually have to be involved in it and train, because remember, I also have to teach these guys how not to drop me and kill me and break my neck. So but it turned out well, and we started having matches, and you can see, I wish I had some of the old footage from then, because we didn't have YouTube, and everything was VCR tapes back in '99. So a lot of stuff between moving, a lot of stuff got lost.
I'm like a really big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Really huge wrestling fan. And like one thing that a lot of people like to say is wrestling's not real. It's not real. Why are you watching it and stuff like that? But what I tell people is like, you can't fake gravity.
No.
Gravity is unfakeable.
Yes, no, you cannot fake gravity. There's been, in UHW actually, there was a wrestler in our first year running where he ended up having a concussion in the ring because he forgot fundamental teachings. When you fall in wrestling, you're supposed to protect the back of your head from hitting the ground. So whenever you fall in wrestling, you're supposed to tuck your chin, so when you hit the ground, your head is the last thing to go. But if you tuck your chin, it'll stay stationary. But if you're falling back like this, the first thing gonna hit the ground is your head. So this guy, a wrestler, he had been fighting a bigger wrestler, Tony Burma. He's a wrestler that loves to throw you all match long. He'll throw you till he fall asleep. And this young man was just taking fall after fall after fall, and I was ringside, and he eventually ended up, unresponsive, and we had to get the ambulance to stop the show. And wow. he actually ended up getting a piece of his skull removed to relieve the pressure of the brain.
Wow.
Yeah, so so there's something that has happened live in front of me, and I'm telling you, yeah, you cannot fake gravity. I'll tell you guys out there, when you say wrestling's fake, I'd say look at it this way. Wrestlers are stuntmen with a script. Just like you watch a movie and you see whatever film you watch where the bad guy dies in the end, you don't say, oh, the guy who played such and such who died in the end, oh, he was a fake actor. No, he really played the role, and he gave you the entertainment that you looked for in that movie. Same thing with wrestlers. See, in a movie, they go cut and they bring in the stuntman. In wrestling, we are the stuntman. So we're out there. There is no cut for us. We get injured and still have to finish the story of the match. So a lot of wrestlers get injured and come out the match backstage are in pain, but while they were in front of you, the audience, the ones that they were trying to entertain, and critics who will say that they're fake, that injury that they got is not fake. you look at wrestlers like Terry Funk, who have zero cartilage in his knee left, but would get out there and entertain. Roddy Piper gave a fantastic promo. You know, he talked about when he was in his late years, he said how, you know, he can hardly get up some mornings, he's got pain. He says, but he goes, I would crawl down to this ring and give everything I could if that's what they wanted, the audience, you guys out there. So you got people like that type of heart, you know. In my years now of wrestling, I wrestled now for, it was 21 years now. I've wrestled for 21 years, and I wrestled, it's not for me anymore. I wrestle because I enjoy giving a really good storyline and good performance to an audience. And that's why I wrestle. I enjoy it.
I think that that's a real big part of professional wrestling, is that it's an art form. You know, especially when it's done right. It's telling the story in the ring. Yeah. And that's what I really appreciated, you know, is that art. You know, you're telling the story. This guy, he's wronged you in this way, and now this is the get back, and then it's the struggle or the battle, you know, Clash of the Titans, and you know, like it's cool, you know, to watch it. And the best part I think about professional wrestling is that it's like a play with violence. You know what I'm saying? Like it's none of the same consequences of violence. Like in the streets per se, you know, you drop somebody on their head, neck, and shoulders in the street, it's a totally different outcome than winning the championship belt, you know.
You know, in wrestling, you give the loser, I guess, the opportunity to come back and redeem himself. I guess, you know, he'll work through the ranks and come back again. Yeah, in a street situation, and you'll have a lot of guys walk up to wrestlers who will say, oh, your wrestling's fake, and they'll try to challenge a wrestler in the street, which is not a smart thing to do depending on the wrestler that you're trying to pick with. But me, I'll walk away, it don't bother me. But there's some fellas who don't like that in-your-face confrontation, because the wrestler's thinking, okay, you're gonna try to hurt me, so now I'm gonna apply a hold on you, but it's gonna be a whole different situation when they hit you with something. You know, there was a guy in a bar, and he walks up to this wrestler, and he's like taps him on the shoulder, and he goes, I don't like that, you know, you're in here and you're taking up all the people paying attention to you, and so and so and so. And the guy was a local there, and the guy was like, I don't want no problems or whatever. And the guy kept putting his hands on him, and he took the two and right on top of the counter, slammed him on the countertop. Guys had to call the ambulance. This dude was done. And guys, mind you, you know, you got these wrestlers. You look at me as a wrestler, I keep a lean build because of my martial arts. I don't like to have bulk and mass. A lot of wrestlers are nothing but gym heads. They stay in the gym, and then one of these guys throw you on a countertop or a wooden floor or a cement floor, you might as well just give it up. So be careful who you pick with out there.
So I got two questions from that statement right there.
All right.
First of all, how long have you been practicing martial arts? Second part of the question is also, do you use martial arts as far as your in-ring style? Do you incorporate that in your in-ring style?
Okay, I'll go backwards.
Also, could people get a shot of that shirt right there? Because the shirt is awesome.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that's what you can get it. It says, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely perfect, Shawn Jenkins. That's the opening line to my song, my theme song when I come out. You hear, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely perfect, Shawn Jenkins, and then the music cues in or whatever. It's been my theme for as long as I've been wrestling, you know. It's a song by AC/DC, Shook Me All Night Long. So, what is it? Well, no, I do not incorporate martial arts in wrestling because I want to be known as a good wrestler, and I don't use martial arts in there because I try to keep pure to the wrestling or whatever. I know there's some people that use martial arts in their styles, and it's great, it's cool, but I just try to stay more on the, like I said, you know, Roberts and Hennig and Brett, all those guys, they're wrestlers, and I enjoy that type of stuff.
Definitely.
Martial arts has been around since I was 5 years old. I'm now 44 years old, so that's approximately 36. I think, is it 36?
39.
39?
Yeah.
I'm no good. Geez, yeah, it's been that long. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But you know, so it's been around for a while. I got started in Queens, New York. You know, Mr. Kim, or Takemoto Masuka, was my original trainer. He was an Aikido martial artist in Japan. He used to sell carpets in Manhattan and stuff like that. He would hand make carpets, and then he would go sell them in Manhattan, like with different designs or whatever. But in his downtime, you know, so I got robbed going to school. In school, back when I went to school, they had a day called Assembly Day. And Assembly Day, they make you dress in shoes and, you know, pants, and, you know, you had to get all dressed up. And so there was some knuckleheads in the neighborhood that took my shoes and threw them on the telephone wire.
Oh, wow.
And then it happened, the next Assembly Day, it happened again. So that's where one of the people that raised me, Grandma Irene, Aurelia Wolf, she was like, you know, she bought shoes and she's like, I'm tired of this. So she had a chat with him and he started training me. And then when I got good at martial arts and I finally got a chance to, you know, go face to face with the guys that did this to me, we became friends.
Wow.
I was like, wow. You know, I'm like, I practiced to beat you guys up. And then it was like, we ended up becoming friends. So we didn't ever have a fight. So it was like, okay. You know, but I'm glad I guess it didn't go down. But I did learn a lot about making friends with people who are your enemies, and you know, and I got to learn martial arts in a rare form that they don't teach today. I got to learn in a one-on-one setting, and I got to learn the fundamental and the principles about martial arts. Where commercialized martial arts teaches about winning trophies and entering tournaments and getting recognition for the school. True martial artists of old were people that were trained martial artists, and they were placed in local villages and communities, and they lived their lives normally. They did not talk about what they knew and who they were. But when people would come in the old days, especially, people would travel all over Asia, and they would go and they would cause problems in those communities where people could not defend themselves, and a martial artist would be there to stop that. And he went back to living how he was living. And that's what martial arts is supposed to be. As a martial artist, you're supposed to be on this planet to make a difference for the people who can't defend themselves, or the people who are unable to defend themselves. And then you go back to living and being a part of this earth and blending in with this earth. That's the key. A lot of people think that it's all about me. No, it's all about how we blend and mesh with one another on this planet. Absolutely. And as we're here, as I run into a person that may be in need or may be going through something, if there's some way that I can help this person along, I've done my part. Maybe it didn't have to be physical. Maybe it just had to be some words. Maybe I had to lift something. Whatever it is, that's the point. We're supposed, as martial artists and as humans, period, you're supposed to be on this planet to blend and work with one another. There's no one on this planet that is a higher species or a higher this or that. We're all the same at the end of the day. We all have to pee, we all have to poop, we all have to eat, we all have to sleep. That's how it all comes down. So absolutely. No one's better than the other, and that's where I try to teach. I think we'll
be in more of a harmony with the planet the more people understand that we all exist in this planet, you know, and that's animals. We have to respect even the rivers and the trees and stuff. I mean, it sounds like I'm a tree hugger or whatever, but you know what? Maybe I am, you know, but it's really important that we respect the planet and its inhabitants. That's one another, plant life, animal life, things of that nature. Let's harmonize with the planet and let's rise.
Yes, that's very much true. I was taught by my first teacher, it was everything on this planet is entitled to the life force. Everything. There's nothing where no one has the right to deprive any other living thing of its life force. If it happens to natural, that's where it's supposed to happen. But no one has the authority or right to go and rob some other living creature of its life force, unless, you know, wantingly. Unless it's like, you know, you're getting food to eat or something of that nature. That's what they were created for. But just to be doing it, no. And I'll hug a tree myself because we get oxygen from trees. And we give out carbon dioxide to them, so there's an exchange going on there. So I love trees because I need that in order to be able to breathe, you know.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. That's the whole yin and yang right there.
Yes, yes, the yin and yang.
That's right.
Feng shui.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, feng shui.
Yeah, feng shui. Shui is water, you know, and flowing. So, yeah, I do speak Mandarin. I speak Putonghua, which is Mandarin. 我叫少人师傅, which means I am Master Shawn. That's what my name is when I teach. And
just breaking out Mandarin.
Yeah, so, you know, Qin Qin, 我很高兴见到你 today. I'm very glad to see you. And then I'll teach. Yeah, 你好. Yeah, 你好 and 你好嘛means it's a question. That means you want a response. So 你好 is, 你 is you, and 好 is good. So it's like, and you know, you say in the hood, you good? And that's what it is if you directly translate it. But it's like hello. But when you put ma at the end of Chinese, it's a question. So it's 你好嘛, are you good? So now I'm saying, I want you to answer back, and you just say 我, which is I. 我很好. I'm very good. 很 is very. 我很好. I'm very. Yeah. 我很好. Yeah. 我很好. I'm very good.
我很好.
Yeah.
Mandarin.
Or you say 好. 好 is good. 好. You know. 好. You know, that's good.
Have you ever been to China?
No, that's one of my. I plan to get there someday. You know, I hope to get there. I have a friend, my daga or Donghui, which is my big brother DH. He's the one that actually got me really going into Chinese years ago, and I thank him so much. He's from China, from Beijing, and he was the one that helped me begin learning how to speak Chinese and so forth. And I've always wanted to go over there and visit, you know. And again, when I work with the company I work for, I interact with people in China that are manufacturers. So I have a good relationship with them over there because I speak Chinese, and you know, and I sang for them in Chinese in like last year at Vegas.
Wow.
And that's when they were like, what? You know, so it was cool. So, you know, I enjoy that.
So you also sing as well?
Yeah, I sang. I've done a lot of things. I've been a voice emulator, which is a voice actor. We used to call them emulators back in the early 2000s, late 1900s. I did a thing called Liberty Theater. I did voices for characters like Elmo and Cookie Monster and Kermit the Frog, and I've done The Rock. I've done Stone Cold. I've done Ernie. I've done Megatron, Starscream, from the first year Transformers, the guy from G.I. Joe who announces that. I've done all these different characters, so in the puppets, they're on stage, and you know, we're moving them, but I'm doing the voice for them or whatever.
I was touched a little bit. You just talked about Transformers. That was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
Love Transformers.
Yeah, and so, you know, I mean, Transformers was fantastic. You know, I still love that cartoon. The first one, the first one can't, the movies cannot come nowhere near the first generation. I'm sorry, the new stuff. I like I like the way it looks.
When Hot Rod took over, though, like what was that? Like season 3 or something?
Oh,
like
in the original years?
Yeah.
Yeah, like around season 2 or 3, yeah, somewhere around there. I like the beginning with Prime, and I've done Jazz. I've done him. I've done Rumble and Frenzy. I've done quite a few of these RC, and I'm trying to think of all these names and characters I've done. Like I've played and done things with, but you know, and I totally enjoyed doing the stage play, stuff like that. As far as singing goes, in the early 2000s, I got to play they had like a low private production of Phantom of the Opera, and I got to play the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, and I had to sing all the lines and stuff like that, and I've enjoyed singing for some time. I really would like to get back into doing that one day, you know, or doing a part where I have to sing or whatever, like I said, in Chinese, in China or whatever, I mean in Mandarin or in English or whatever. I've enjoyed it. One of the songs I wrote in China is, what is it? 最好，最好，你的爱是最好， which is Zuihao means the best, and I is love. It's basically saying the person he's remembering a love that he had, and he is saying how your love is the best. And that's basically what it's basically saying. He's just remembering the person that's gone, but he's just thinking about it, and he's just like, he'll never find that kind of a love again. So that's what that's his emotion behind that.
Wow. How long did it take for you to get fluent?
Oh, I'm not even fluent. No, wow. I'm not fluent yet. I'm
fooled.
I'm good enough, but I'm not fluent, man. There are some words I still have problems, dealing with because of the tones. In China you have, ni hao, ni hao, ni hao, ni hao. So it's 4. So it's, depending on the sound you give the word, can turn the word into something else. So
wow.
Like in Japan, arigato, or you can say arigato, arigato. It's the same thing. But in Chinese, if you the all those change whatever it is, and that's what it is. So you just gotta,
Sounds very difficult.
It is at first. I guess it is, but I guess I have one of those memories that I have to write it, then I remember it. I can't. If you told me a new Chinese word, I might remember it, but until I write it down, once I see it. When I go to speak, my brain sees the written word, then I can speak it. That's how, so if I'm speaking Chinese, my brain is actually reading the written word and then it can come out.
So you can actually write Mandarin as well?
No, I can write American Pinyin.
Okay.
But there's the calligraphy with all the, it looks like houses and treetops. And then you also, no, I can't write that, but I can, there's what's taught in school in China is the Pinyin, which they use English characters to write what they're saying in Chinese. So I can write that, I can understand that. But no, I can't write. Oh boy, there's like thousands of characters I think in there. They're still making new ones. They said as they're still making new characters now. So
wow, yeah, I think it's like 7,000.
Yes,
I don't know. I could be wrong.
But yeah, yeah.
I got some other questions for you too. I want to know. How did COVID-19 affect you? Like, how did it affect you? How did it impact your life?
Well, it had, when it came out with all the, people can't go out here or there, meaning they're stuck in your local area at the time, it was like, okay, I was used to going to the office or whatever. Now I'm working remotely. So I'm like, well, I used to work for myself years ago, and I was home most of the time anyway, so it kind of was like, hey, I can get to work out again, because that's what I used to do. So it didn't stop me from being productive. Of course, in the beginning stages when everything was like you couldn't be outside past a certain time, you couldn't go across the bridge. So I have my mom and dad that live in New York, so it was like, okay, we stayed away from them for a while because you couldn't go over the bridge, and if you went, then you had to do a 14-day blah, 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 blah. So, and until we got a handle on it, until I got to understand what really was going on with that whole COVID situation. But even right now, again, I tell people this, education, not just being taught, there's difference. There's educators and there's a teacher. A teacher will teach you what they learn from who they learn from who they learn. An educator is educating you with the purpose of leading you out of something and leading you to a place where you can now think for yourself and not repeat the same pattern that's been taught. An educator will help you break away from a pattern. Well, in this particular scenario of COVID land, the people are being taught fear.
Yes.
The one way to overcome fear is through being educated. An education can help you develop knowledge, and knowledge will then be able to set you free. So when you take the time out, and see, that's the thing, people have to seek knowledge. A lot of people just, they'll say, well, whatever's easy, I want to do that. They say do this, okay, I'm just going to do it. It's easy, I don't have to, it doesn't require thinking or anything like that. Once you begin thinking for yourself, you will see things in a total different light.
That's going to jump you straight out that box. A lot of us, we live in our own little box. That box is a prison. Once you get outside of it through education, you educate yourself about the world and experiences with other people. You just learn so many more things, you know, and you're able to, you know, there's known knowns, there's known unknown, and then there's unknown unknowns. Me, I get a satisfaction when I get into that unknown world. I learn about an unknown unknown. So now it's a known unknown, and then I try to investigate and things of that nature. So that's one thing that gives me joy personally.
Yes,
you know?
And finding out the truth.
Yes.
You know, because I'm telling you, a lot of people have been fed a lie, and I'm not going to turn this into a political thing, but a lot of people have been taught a lie, and it's up to you to say if you want to continue living this lie or you want to see the truth and get away for yourself.
I don't like the term conspiracy theory, because that goes to show that we're going to frame ignorance upon subjects that do demand attention.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime there's something that comes up, you know, like, and then there's a question, it should be investigated. You know, so therefore, don't rule out anything because it's a quote-unquote conspiracy theory. Do research, you know. Do research about things that you think you already know as well, because that opens up new doors to discovering, you know.
Yes. You know, again, I think all the roads that I've been down that helped me to be able to look at things differently. Most people have been so locked into what is the normal and what everyone else is doing, so they just follow the pattern. But I've gone down a road where I've seen things on many different sides of different fences. I've you know, at one point I was working with the government and I had to leave. Then there was another point where I've been on the wrong side of the government and had to go through those experiences. And then there's just so many things. And I'm getting a shout out over here. His phone called out when you whoop somebody's behind in Street Fighter and get that perfect win. And that's why I used to play. That's funny because there's a story. Oh man, in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, there was a place, there was a roadie shop, and they used to have Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition in there. Right. And I would go play that game, and every time I won, it'd go, you win, mister. And I'd say, mister, he goes, perfect. And that's how I used to always, and people used to get so tired of fighting me because I was going to win with a perfect. And that's how, and I would get on the right-hand side, because if you, I got in the right-hand side, which is against the wall. I used 1/4, and I'd be in there from sun up to sundown because people would keep exiting and a new person would be on the left every time I fought them. But I stayed in the corner because, first of all, no one likes to fight on that side because you're facing this way. And also, I knew I was that good. I wasn't going to be coming out of that corner, so I just got comfortable. But yeah, Street Fighter is still one of my favorite games.
The game is awesome.
Yeah, so that was funny.
I just changed that too, like a few days ago.
Yeah, no, that was a cool chime. But yeah, so I mean.
All right, so also I normally ask this question a lot. It's spirituality or religion? Where do you stand? And let's expound on that as much as we can.
All right. Well, you're going. That's definitely talking about my martial arts world. In martial arts, it's also a part of my life. Martial arts is a way of life. I definitely go with spiritual over religion. What is that? Religion. Religion.
Yeah.
Because a person can be a religious jump roper. They get up every day and they jump rope. That's religious. Religious just means basically a repetition of something that they do over and over and over again. You can be a religious person that goes to church religiously, but you may not be getting anything spiritually at church. You just religiously go because that's just the norm for you. I definitely believe in spiritual over religion by far. Spiritual, this is something that develops into relationship. If you're going to talk spiritual as far as acknowledging that there's a grand creator and God and so forth like that, then you definitely want to talk about the relationship, because it comes down to the relationship. What your relationship is with God Almighty will be what helps develop you spiritually. And the only way you're going to develop a relationship is spending time with him. Same way you get a relationship with someone, you spend time with them. The same way you get a relationship with an animal, you spend time with your pet or whatever. That's how the relationship grows. And a lot of people just think just because I religiously go and worship and do this, that my relationship is going to grow. That's not the case. It's not. You have to be spiritually tuned, spiritually minded, and spiritually focused. Those are the things that you have to be working at. Your spirituality is kind of like a muscle. The more you work it, the bigger it'll grow. And spirituality, a lot of people go, oh, well, does that mean that you have to be a particular faith or this and that? Listen, I believe in God Almighty. I believe that, Adonai, Elohim, Yahweh, whatever you're going to call him, that's who I believe in. And my spiritual point of view is that as I go through life, I try to show people what my relationship is with God. Meaning when they meet me, what kind of a person do they see? Do they see that a person that has the qualities of this relationship that I'm in with my God? As if you have like some other God, I don't want to put it in a box, but in my relationship, what's the relationship that I have with God? When they see me, am I just saying, oh, well, it says love thy neighbor, but I'll step on your face to get that last deal on Black Friday in the supermarket, in the mall? No, it's not like that. You should see qualities of the relationship. Just like when a man and woman are married for years, you become like one another over time. You start seeing, the man would never have done this type of thing, but once he met her, he started doing things that she does, and she started doing things that he does. That's all a part of relationship. So when you have a spiritual relationship with your God, with God Almighty, you're supposed to take on the qualities that God would be demonstrating, and that's where it comes down to. I mean, I could give a whole seminar on this stuff. I just trying to keep it light, but isn't there also into my martial arts world? In martial arts, there's three main pieces. There's your physical, your mental, and your spiritual. I focus on two of them primarily. It's mental and physical. I don't get so far in a lot of the spiritual aspects of martial arts because some of that requires worship of other things that I don't want to be involved worshiping, so I stay away from that. But I focus on the other things. But there are fundamentals that I take with me to help me grow spiritually, that way when I meet people and I interact with people, I'm trying to help them be better on this planet, because I say one person can make a difference. And if one person makes a difference, then many people can change the world. And that's what I'm looking to help empower people and encourage people to try to help change this planet we're in. This planet, which is our one home. This is one earth. We all live here. We all have family members in our family that some days you like them, some days you don't like them. But they're still family. Same thing. When you walk the street, there may be a person today you just don't like. But that doesn't mean they're not your family member. You just got to find a way to relate to them, and that's where martial arts helps me, to be able to relate to people, because I know that I can talk them off of what they're going through. And should they get hostile, I'm also in a situation where I can protect myself, but I'm more focused on getting them out of the mind frame that they're in, and to get them into thinking like, hey, this guy helped me out, now I can help somebody. That's, if we all can just do that, because most people, they get negative and they give it right back, and I'm thinking, like when people say, again, they say feng shui, which is just the ebb and flow, whatever you want to call it. It's just like, okay, hard came at me, well, I give it back soft. Now it's soft, I'll become hard. And that's how I function.
Very Bruce Lee-like, when I contract, they expand.
Oh.
When I expand, they contract. And also, be like water. Water can flow.
Oh, yes, that's a great interview. Yeah, be water, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Yeah, that was a great analogy of how to just live in general. That was
awesome.
awesome.
Man. Yeah, thank you. I actually could see him as you're saying it now. I was like, oh, yeah. But yeah, so that's my stand on this.
So do you have a story or anything that you might want to share with people that might be going through anything? Maybe encouraging story?
Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. This story will be about not accepting when people tell you what they think is your outcome. So I'll give you this story. Yeah. Back when I was in my teens, I had gotten paralyzed. Two guys had jumped on me. One guy had me in a headlock, and I was going to pick this guy up and throw him. And when I went to pick him up, the other guy hit me in my back somehow. Wow. I don't know what he hit. I don't even know how. I just know I got hit in the back, and my legs turned off. And I went down on the street on New York Avenue between Carroll and Crown Street. I remember where I was at.
Wow.
And so I was laying on the sidewalk, and my friends in the neighborhood had come over by the time the ambulance and all that. I was just laying on the ground. A lot of people just surrounding me. Excuse me. And so, I ended up getting taken to Kings County Hospital at that time, and their CAT scan machine was not working. Somebody had to come fix it or whatever, and I was in the hospital, and this doctor was telling me how, that you may not be able to walk, you may not be able to walk right again, you may not be able to wrestle anymore, you may not be able to play sports, and there's a lot of, you're not going to be able to do this and that. And so, I get home, and they gave me, I guess when you don't have the best insurance in the world, they give you Advil. And so,
wow.
So I go home, and I'm laying in the bed, and I'm in the bed, and I can't get up. I can't do anything really from the waist down, and I can't lay straight in the bed. I have to lay in the bed like this because the muscles were so swollen. Apparently, the muscles were the swelling was so bad that the signal to get to, I guess, my lower extremities wasn't getting through. And so that's what caused all that. So I would have to wait for this swelling to go down to where a signal could pass through. Well, for this time, 6 months in the bed, it was summertime, a lot of it. I got to hear people outside playing. I wish I could be outside. I'm looking at the ceiling a lot. There was the only thing that was close was a tape deck that I had a Michael Jackson Bad tape. And so I had the tape, and I would just press it, and I learned all the songs. I knew all the songs, but I really learned the songs. That's all I had. And the hardest part was trying to turn the tape over and get the other side started. That's when we had cassette tapes. Anyway, so I remember a humiliating but humbling experience. I was calling my brother. We had they used to have twin beds. One bed used to pull from under, but we separated, so one was on the other side and I was on this side. And I was calling my brother. I had to pee, and I was calling to my brother, and he sleeps so hard he wouldn't answer. And I said to myself, if I could just swing my feet and land on them first, maybe I'll stand up. So I kind of just, because I wanted to get to the bathroom and I couldn't get him up, so I kind of threw my feet on the floor, hoping that some magical way I was going to end up on my feet. And I went feet, and everything else went with the feet, and I ended up on the floor in pain. And I ended up peeing myself on the floor. But, and I said, to have all your abilities that you take for granted, that being able to go to the bathroom, just getting up out of a bed, being able to turn a tape over in a tape deck, if use a tape now, all those little simple things are taken away. And I got to learn a lot about being like that. So finally, one day, I kept saying, if I can just move my feet, my toes, I'm gonna win. And I kept every day trying, nothing would happen. And finally one day I got my foot to move. And once my foot moved, the biggest surge of confidence was like, I'm gonna beat this. And you hear stories like this, and unless you've gone through it, to be able to be trying something, and just not happening for you physically. And then one day you go, it worked! You're like, you're so excited. It wasn't nothing, but it was something, And so time went on, and I got better, and I was able to lift my legs, and so I remember in my head, the doctor was saying, you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that, you won't be able to. See, a doctor, they're just practicing medicine. They're just practicing. They are not veterans, they are not miracle makers or whatever. And they're just practicing. And that's the point. They don't know it all. There's only one true doctor and healer, and that's God Almighty. He's the original designer. He knows the blueprints. He knows how it all functions and works. So that's the only person. If he tells you it's going to be not, then that's what it is. But until you hear that from him directly, don't take it from no one. Like I said, I have now, after that time, I entered 21 dunk competitions. I won 20 out of 21 dunk competitions. I've been wrestling for 21 years, been champion in multiple places, done wrestling, never been injured in any wrestling match I've ever been in. Played basketball. I played with, I was the coach for the Junior Charlotte Hornets, which was in a part of the YMCA Beacon. I was coached their team. I've been player coach. I've played basketball with in the Professional Basketball Association, which was where people who didn't have contracts, they would be there. I played with them guys. I played with Mitch Richmond. I played with cats like that. I had Teresa Weatherspoon cheering me on at a game. She came in as a guest, and she was cheering me on in a game. So, but this is the guy that they said wasn't going to walk, wasn't going to be able to do this, wasn't going to be able to. And so, don't take anyone's word for what they're saying. Listen, if people say no, turn that no into motivation and just keep knocking at that wall. You're going to knock the wall down sooner or later. You just keep hitting it, and you'll find a way. What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. If you got a need to accomplish something, you will find a way or invent a way to get it done. And so that's, and again, here I am today, and here I am. I've had a lot of no's in my life, and I've turned them all into yes. It was in the Army. In 1994, I was in the Army. And had a sergeant tell me when I was leaving the Army, because I found out what the Army really is like. And I don't want to pollute anyone's vision, so I'm not going to give the full story, but I will tell you this, it's a big sales job, and it's a big sales pitch. And if you're considering letting your child go into the Army, I strongly consider you talk them out of it, because they will, when they get in there, they're going to be exposed to some things that you can't imagine. And when I was leaving, I had a sergeant tell me, oh, when you leave here, this is the best job you'll ever get. You'll never make as much money as you have here or whatever. And I said, I'm out. And I left. And I got a job in medical. And I sent him my pay stub saying, you are a liar.
Wow.
Because I made more in my second year in medical than I made in my time in that military. And he was like, he never answered back or whatever. I know he wasn't going to answer back, but I sent it right to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And that's, people tell you, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. Don't listen to these people. Listen to what's going on in here.
That's right. That's right. Your spirit is your guide.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That was an extraordinary story. Wow. I mean, my only regret about that is that the phone rang, because that was an extraordinary story.
That's okay.
And I'm just, that was inspirational to me. You know what I'm saying? You came from not being able to move your legs. Mm-hmm. And some people never come back from that. That is an amazing triumph. And then, even going into the Army and you face that gigantic system of things, and then to say, no, I know a better way. And to say, I'm going to do this. And then to prove it. That is extraordinary, you know.
Oh man.
Yeah, I definitely hope that people can draw from that, and find their strength, and start to rise in their greatness.
Yeah. Dang. I think I'd be injustice if I don't say this. I will tell you what got me to leave the Army was actually they told me that I would have to kill some people, and I said that killing's wrong, and I didn't. So my whole time in the Army, I excelled. I blew everything out they threw at me, but I didn't, being young, I didn't understand that I have to kill people. So they told me I had to go over, it was just straight simple. The guy was so forward, the sergeant, he goes, they have what we want and we're just gonna take it from them.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, we just gotta go kill him. And I thank him for being so honest, but it was like, I don't think that this is what you should tell a rookie in the Army, because you wake them up out of that trance they're in. So I said, no, I can't do this. I said, I can't kill people. Killing is wrong. So mind you, I had 4 platoons that were under me that would follow me anywhere. I had gotten that good in boot camp. I was that good. And they nicknamed me the ultimate soldier in there.
Wow.
And this is Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. You can I don't know if there's a fact check for 94, but the point is that when I said no, I can't kill no one, they threw me to the wolves, under the bus. They threatened to lock me up and put me in Leavenworth prison. They said they were going to do all that. And they put me in front of these very, very old military men down there. They got me in front of the mess hall where all the people who followed me were there, and they were questioning me. So you're going to turn your back on all these people, and you're going to let down all these people because you're scared, or because I said, no, killing is wrong. And I said, I can't kill somebody. I said, I can't do it. And so he says, well, if people thought like you, where would this country be? And I said to him, I said, if people thought like me, we would not be fighting. And so they said, just go away. And they sent me away and said, we'll figure out what we're going to do with you. And they made me wait days and days and days. And, you know, long story short, they ended up letting me leave there. And they said, oh, you can re-enlist in 3 years if you want to re-enlist or whatever. And I was like, you'll never see me back in a recruitment center or whatever. But just because the fact is that, yeah, when they're trying to turn people into killing machines, and that's the point. When you go in there, you're not thinking like, you're thinking young, I'm going to help save my country, you serve the people, and you know, and unless I grew up in the city. Now, if I was from like Kentucky or Minnesota or somewhere you go hunting normally, you would think about shooting a rifle, but growing up in the city as a martial artist, I never held a handgun at that point before then. So it's more like, you know, I'm thinking when you battle, I'm thinking with my hands. And so, you know, and then, yeah, but it comes down to a point that, yeah, they want to turn these people into killing machines. And I know people say, yeah, we need to defend our countries and things, but if everybody thought like how I was thinking and still think now, we wouldn't need to fight wars. It would be over. No one would be fighting because everyone would be trying to figure a common cause and a common thing to work together towards, instead of taking the other man's stuff. And it's unfair, it's wrong. How would you like for someone to come in your living room and go, that TV is mine. Wait a minute, I lived here before. Well, we want it and that's ours now, we're claiming it. Well, that's what happened to the native people of this country. The native, what you call Indians, they were home. These guys showed up and took their stuff. And yet, people talk about racism. Let me explain something. There's no such thing as racism. We're all one race, human. So, there's no black race, white race, yellow race, red race. No, those are colors that people just want to grab and identify with. There's only one race, and that's human. And we should all be working as humans to better the human race. Doesn't matter about your skin complexion. Yeah, you may have been born here, you may have been born here. Listen, it all goes back to the end of the day that it all started from 2 people. And we all stem from there. We're all humans. If I mate with a Caucasian woman, a Chinese woman, guess what's going to happen? She's going to have a child. So guess what? You know, that's the way we were designed. We're designed to interact with different things. We have to understand that we're one family. We have to look for the greater good, not being selfish and rubbing people out just because they don't conform to what you want.
Or just because they have something that you want and you're going to take it by force.
Yeah.
That is actually the system that we were built on. I'm not going to get too much into it,
yeah,
but
we'll run out of film.
I'm going to say that I totally agree with your sentiments. That was actually excellent.
Thank you. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're getting into a deep dive. But however, I think we're going to wrap it up right there. I think we got a lot of good information and a very powerful interview. Man, I really appreciate you, for giving us that insight and that depth. And then you've led such a full life and such a rich life at this point. You know what I'm saying? We got some jewels there. You know.
You ain't seen nothing yet. It's like an old expression. But I appreciate you just wanting to interview me, and I appreciate your work that you've been doing. I've been watching Randomz since I found out about it. I started watching, and I've enjoyed every one of those interviews. Every one of them had something awesome about it. And all you guys that were in it, and ladies that were in the interviews, I appreciated them very much. And I'm telling you, so you can hear it from a person who watched, and now I'm in one, but I say thank you so much for your time. Definitely, what was her name? Keisha, was it? That's one of my favorites. Yes, Keisha's one of my favorite. And yes, and Buddha Black is another one. Definitely, I love, it was like a graffiti and an artist and so forth. I don't know what you call it. I don't want to give injustice to the name, whatever the title is, but there's one thing he stated that I definitely, if I ever get the chance, I'm getting that $5,000 painting. But I do actually want to go and see the pyramids for myself, because the way he described one of the things, he said that the walls, they were done very well, and even though people had tagged on them, the hieroglyphics still were in such good shape. It's like, you got to think, these guys didn't have Home Depot. They didn't have Sherwin-Williams for clear coat or anything like that. It's amazing what humans can do with so little.
Yes.
And then when they have so much, they want to accomplish nothing. What's wrong with us?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I say that this interview was absolutely perfect. I got my man Shawn Jenkins here. I mean, it has been a blast. You know what I'm saying? I greatly appreciate this.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it too as well.
So right there, we're going to wrap this up. I want everybody to have a better day, and, stay cool, stay safe, and remember, you don't have to wear those masks. That's just what they tell you to do.
They don't work.
You just breathing in your own toxins. Anyway,
yes.
Y'all have a good day.
We'll be here tomorrow on that one.
All right. Peace.